Yo, what up, though? If you don't know, now you know. It's the What Do I Know podcast, man. I think it's episode 4 or 5, some shit like that. It's your boy KG. Once again, my man Grove ain't here. Grove, where you been at? Nah, salute to my boy Grove, man. He out here, we out here. But I got somebody new in the building, man. I've been tracking this guy down for a minute. I've been trying to get him on. He probably would have been my first person if he wasn't so busy, but he a busy guy. Steady motivating. I see you on Facebook, Instagram, talking your talk, just motivating the youth, the uninspired. I'm always feeling that. But you know, the people in the Phoenix area know you as Payroll Jackson.
Yes, sir.
What's going on, my brother? How you living?
Man, great, man. Blessed. you know, that's all I can say. Shit.
So for those who just heard that bark, he brought a Frenchie with him, and that's why I'm actually bringing him on today, is because he has become notorious at this point in time for, you know, breeding some of the finest animals, dogs specifically, in the state of Arizona. Quite honestly, go ahead and pull it. You want to pull him out real quick?
Yeah, she going ham.
Yeah. So he just had a litter literally yesterday. And is this one of the pups from that litter?
No, this a pup that just touched down from Texas.
Okay.
They doing it real big out there in Texas, man. Shout out to Texas because they killing the Frenchie game.
Shout out to Texas, man, but stop shooting and robbing rappers, man, for real.
Man. But yeah, man, she touched down, man, and I'm gonna grab her real quick for she.
Yeah. But yeah, as he pulling her out, just so y'all know, you know, today is going to be a day where we speak about, you know, obviously we always want to get into different industries and different ways to get to the bag. And, you know, this is, you know, a very, very lucrative way to get to the money. As you can see, got this pretty Frenchie here. So, you know, I see you got a Frenchie there. So let me just ask you, I mean, you in the dog selling game, the dog breeding game, how much is that Frenchie right there? Like, how much is that Frenchie worth?
Shit, before she was born, she was like 10K, you know. But they go up like real estate, you know, to be honest with you. So a dog that is a puppy, they're gonna grow. They're gonna grow. You know, if you were to sell her where, you know, in breeding terms, when she's ready to breed, she'd be at least 25K.
Because what she holding?
Right, because she could breed, she gonna make that money back immediately, based on the fact of her being able to breed, based on the fact that she gonna pop off 4 to 8 puppies, you know.
Right. And each one of those puppies is 10 grand a pop.
Yeah, depending on, you know. See, the big thing about the Frenchies is it's so crazy, it's so open, which means that you can buy a puppy that's 3 grand, you know. It ain't gonna have no body. It ain't gonna have no face, no head. It ain't gonna have no structure. It might not have the colors that you want. But you spend that 10, you know, it's gonna have all of that and some more. So for example, she's a fluffy carrier. The fluffies right now, they going for 50 to 100K.
Okay.
So you bounce her with another fluffy carrier, and you're gonna have a couple dogs out of that litter that's gonna all be full fluffy, which means that she got the smooth coat, the short hair, but she carries the long hair gene.
Okay.
So that long hair gene bounced back. You know what I mean? Which means that you can either sell it or you could say, look, I'm gonna go ahead and keep that, you know, and use that as a stud or use that as one of my foundation females, you know, however you want to do it. But it just depends on really your bag and how you get money at the same time, you know, because it's hard sometimes to turn down 50 grand.
Right. Yeah.
You know, it's hard.
I mean, especially if you're talking about dogs. I mean, no, I mean, obviously dogs are, you know, they're part of the American society, but I mean, to 50 grand for a dog is, whew.
Man, but you know what?
It's hard to just say no to something like that if somebody offering it to you.
But I'm gonna tell you one thing that somebody told me years ago. They told me, what's like the top 4 things that people are automatically gonna need, no matter what. And this pandemic is gonna prove it. No matter what, is pandemic proof. You feel me? And what I mean by that is, let me ask you, what would be the top things? You know what I mean? The top 4 things that you would think that people are gonna need if you were to start a business that people actually gonna need.
Food, what they would need.
What they gonna need
in the pandemic.
Not even pandemic. Just thinking about what people gonna need.
I would say if I was starting a business where if I had a nice amount of change, I would say, food. You can't go wrong with food.
Right.
Uh, man, maybe investing in the cell phones or something
Right.
regarding the internet, because that's become a need.
Right.
Um, Clothing is no longer like the malls are no longer a need, even though I'm invested into Simon Property Group, which owns most mini malls. It's not a need because people can buy online.
Whether they can buy online or not, they still need it. You're
Well,
gonna
yeah,
need clothes.
they need clothes.
You know?
But where they getting those clothes from is a different. But yeah, clothes. And then I feel like food, water, and the internet.
So
Clothes.
really, there's 4 things, and number one is housing. You always
Housing.
gonna have to have a place to stay, whether you're talking about a house or an apartment.
Facts.
You gotta have a place. Number two is gonna be a vehicle. You gotta have a way to get there. Everybody on a bus? Nah.
You think everybody need a vehicle?
Everybody need a vehicle. You either getting a ride or you riding. One of the two. Or you getting on the bus.
Let's say transportation.
Transportation.
Because in New York, you don't need a car.
I get it.
Yeah.
It depends on how you wiggling though.
But I feel you. But the means of transportation, it is a need. I mean,
absolutely.
Can't just walk everywhere.
Number three would be a tie between clothing and food. People always gonna spend money on food no matter what. They gonna eat good. They gonna eat. People always gonna have clothes no matter what you selling it for. Just like Shaq, people try to get on Shaq for having the shoes in Walmart, but he sell more shoes than anybody.
He hustling.
Hey, he sell more shoes. He make them affordable for everybody.
I'm assuming Shaq got a warehouse that's actually creating these shoes. So
right.
I mean, if you doing that, you can get them off for $20 a pop because you still probably making 50 times your return on investment.
It might take you 75 cents to make that shoe, but you winning.
That's a fact.
That's a super win.
That's a fact.
And the next one is going to be pets. I don't care if you're
talking America.
Yeah, I don't care if you're talking about a gerbil or a dog or a cat. One thing that people understood when this whole pandemic happened was like, look, I'm not trying to be here by myself.
Facts.
No matter what, I'm not going to be at the house by myself. I got to have me something.
Right.
Hey, the dog sales was up 74%. AKC hit me with an email like, look, we up.
Mm-hmm.
We up just on the strength of everybody not wanting to be alone. And also people saying like, look, now I got the time. Now I'm home more. I got the time to train this dog. So if anything else happened, and then also protection.
Yeah.
And when you want to talk about Corsos, you're going to talk about, look, if I got to go somewhere, my family at home, I'm going to make sure we good.
Yeah, so even though he has the Frenchie here, when he first got into the actual dog breeding game, it was based off of Cane Corsos, which obviously is a total opposite of the little Frenchie here. But obviously, I would assume, being that they are more guard dogs, that they probably would you say they hold more value than the Frenchie?
I mean, to me, honestly, I would say that the Corsos is the number one dog, period.
Okay.
Overall smart.
It's a bull mastiff.
It's
right?
a Cane Corso. That's what it's. That's how you say it. But a lot of people say Cane Corso. But it's not a bull mastiff. It's a mastiff. It's the last line of a mastiff. They're more slender, more athletic.
Okay.
They could do more around everywhere. They could work.
Okay.
Them bull mastiffs is more just.
Yeah.
Compared to being able to work.
Okay.
And the Cane Corso, bro, it's a great dog, honestly. Like, I would take a Cane Corso any day before I took a Frenchie, and that's just on the strength of Frenchies are more based off of DNA.
He look at you like, nigga, what?
hey, but the Frenchies is more based off of DNA. DNA structure. Corso's not so much.
Okay.
It's more so much just structure, the quality of the dog. If you got that, because they got a lot of health problems too, just like Frenchies got more, but they got health problems, whether you talking about eyes, you talking about hips, things that big dogs have, that's what you're going to have to deal with.
Okay. So, you got into the dog breeding game in 2014?
Yeah.
All right. So talk to me about the process of getting into, because obviously people are going to be listening and, we're trying to not only speak on your story, but maybe inspire people who maybe are looking to get into an industry like this on maybe how to, because I mean, it's not like it's something that they're ever going to teach in school.
Right.
So talk to me about how you actually got into the process of breeding dogs. Like, how did that process begin for you?
Man, it's kind of crazy because even thinking back, I'm like, man, how did I think about this? You know, how did I come up with this? And I had my baby mama really. She was like, oh, we used to breed dogs, you know, back in 2006, and you know these Corsos was on fire,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, okay, all right. So I really wanted to do Frenchies, but I was kind of turned down with the work that comes with it
Okay.
because they don't have births naturally, meaning they don't have you know, they're not just gonna pop out puppies. You gotta count them days, and you gotta take them right to the vet, you know, to get a C-section. If you don't, they're gonna die with the
Mm,
puppies in them. You
mm.
know what I mean? So that's a whole. They can't pop off naturally. They also can't breed naturally.
Frenchies.
Frenchies at all. You know, they're not tying just like Corso. So I got into the Corso game really kind of, you know, thinking about the whole aspect of it. And you know, when I thought about it, I was like, it was one of them things where I was like, man, I got my kids. I want to be able to spend more time at the house with kids, you know, and not have to go to work every day. We was doing the music and the call centers, like,
Right.
you know, trying to really make it work.
Right. Right. Right.
So before the call center stuff went down, I started putting my bread to the side. I started taking you know, the $125,000 I was making a year. Say, look, let me take 30 of this and put it in the dogs for the last 3 years.
So talk to me about that process, because I think that's something else that people need to know about. When you took that money to the side, like, were you taking a piece out of every check throughout the duration of time, or did you stack up a X amount of dollars throughout a period of time and just say, let me take a chunk out? Like, how was that process? Because I think for a lot of people, just getting to the process of having a lump sum to invest into anything,
Right,
that be most people's biggest issues. Like, and I know
right,
how I
right.
got to that point, but what was your process like? Were you just taking a piece out? Like, how?
The biggest process in this dog game really is quality. You know, that's one of the things that I had to learn. I wanted to have some shit that didn't nobody else have. And when I say that, anybody could put two dogs together and say we got puppies.
Right.
You know, that's real easy to do. So I had to take the process and say, look, I actually spent about 25,000 in the US. I bought 4 dogs. I was
To start, that's what
Hey,
your
when I
start.
first started, I really I bought a dog in Dallas. I called the lady. She wanted $3 grand for the dog, full breeding rights. She didn't care, and I was pumped about it. We drove 17 hours, 17 the hours back. I was pumped,
I
and
know
I
that.
got back, and she was trash.
Mm.
You know, health problems, temperament crazy. You know, she was so surprised that I was gonna come and cash out, but I wasn't gonna send her no money off top because I was like, I ain't did this before, and $3 grand is a lot of money, baby. I can't do it.
Right. Right.
So I had to really get into the process of understanding that. And then you had your doubters. You
Right.
know, you're going to have people like, damn, why you buying so many dogs? Why you spending so much on this? That was my biggest thing. You had so many people that was like, look, why are you going to go spend another $3 grand on this? You ain't made no money off of that. And I'm like,
Right.
well, if I spent $3 grand on it, somebody else can. That's the way I looked at it. You know, but other people couldn't really take that understanding. They was more like, okay, well, I ain't gonna do it. You know what I mean? And that's really half the battle of, you know, really kind of looking outside the box,
Yeah.
you know, and trying to put it together.
That's unfortunate. Most people only see as far as what's in front of them.
Right,
You
right,
know, unfortunately, not everybody is built to be an entrepreneur, because to be an entrepreneur, you have to have vision that most people are not going to see.
exactly.
And the fucked up thing about working these 9 to 5 jobs for most people is they get blinded by the next check. You know, they never really think, like, you know, what can I do outside of this, because the bills are right there at the end of the month, and you only getting 2 checks every month, so you got to spend every single day either trying to hit a quota
Right.
or trying to prioritize what I'm going to do with this check before it's even spent, and before
And
you.
that's what really motivated me because
Yeah.
I knew that I couldn't continue to do that.
Yeah.
I knew that I couldn't take a you know, spend 40 hours somewhere or even 60 hours somewhere and be like, look, I'm paying these bills. I mean, there was a point really where I was paying bills and I thought I was winning. Like I'd have $4,000 in bills, like I'm winning. I'm like looking at it now, like, bro, that ain't winning. Like that's a stress.
Yeah. You see,
Like
they
your money got to work for you.
I hear people. Yeah, that's a fact.
You got to
And
let your money work for
I
you,
hear a
man.
lot of people talk, like, I see people post like, man, well, if all your bills is paid, then you ain't broke. If you don't got no money after your bills is paid, you still broke. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
Like,
right.
like, like,
Because
like, granted, you responsible. Like, you did the responsible thing and paid your bills. And
right,
hopefully, if you pay it forward, then God will bless you with an infusion of money or put you in a position where you can earn more money. But if you stay stuck in that same spot, I spoke about this before. If you stay stuck in the same spot, getting the same amount of money and the bills is the same, like, you can't just keep working that 40, thinking that, you're going to be able to rise above that. At some point in time, you're going to have to either make some cuts in your life,
right.
make some disciplines in your life,
Go get a second job.
or get a second job, get
Yeah.
some type of
My
second
mama
income.
always worked 2 jobs.
Yeah.
So I was never afraid to work. I don't care what it was. I was gonna get it. So that's one of the biggest things is really taking that sacrifice
Yeah.
and saying, look, instead of going to go spend this money on some bullshit, that's gonna put me in a position to, live cool, have this and this. I'm gonna take that sacrifice and I'm gonna really stack this up and let it bubble. And like I said, these dogs is almost like real estate because you can buy a dog that might be $3,000. But when she ready to breed, she gonna be at least 10, 15 because she ready to breed.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's just bottom line. It moved better than real estate. Real estate ain't gonna go up from 3 to 15
Right.
as quick as a dog. I don't care what house you got.
Hey, man, I feel it. So you buy your first couple dogs. Those was dubs. But you still made money, right? Did
Yeah, I mean, like I remember my first 2 litters. I had 2 litters, basically that was 3 days apart, and it was crazy because I had 24 puppies, and I'm like,
Oh,
bro, what
shit.
am I gonna do? I'm going crazy trying to hand in hand these puppies, and I'm like, what am I gonna do? Like I see it, so many puppies where I had them going for 10 for 2, 10 for 2, and then the last one was just going for like 2,500 because I was like, they gotta go, so. At that point, it was me starting, which means that there's really 3 things at the end of the day that's going to separate this dog breeding. The dog breeding is going to be conditions, which means that the conditions that you got your dogs in, do you have kennels? Do you have a spot for them? Do you have neighbors? You can't have 10 Cane Corsos in a housing development because you're going to get kicked out.
Hell yeah.
Straight up, you're going to get kicked out. So conditions. Number 2 is going to be quality. Meaning that you really got that fire, something that's better than the next person.
Mm-hmm.
Why are they gonna go spend $5,000 with you when they can go get this dog for 1,500 from somewhere else?
Right.
And it's just the quality, And then number 3 is gonna be marketing, which I do. The marketing is what I really do. So I took the marketing to a whole nother level. IG, I know how to add them. I know how to get them numbers up. Facebook, all that. I know how to do all that. I wasn't afraid. There was times where I had $1,000 budget, a month, just that I was feeding to these websites, whether it was IG, whether it was Facebook. That's some people's rent money. I was spending on just marketing, but I already knew that it would grow eventually, and now it's just all organic.
I love that, and I do want to advise people who got any type of business whatsoever. Set aside some money for specifically digital marketing. I think that's super, super important. I think he preaching right now. Flyers is cool.
Right.
Paper flyers is okay. But the thing that really sticks with people more than anything right now is digital flyers. And when I say digital flyers, I mean advertising on Google, Facebook, and Instagram. This is important for y'all to understand because there's a million of y'all. Like it's important to know. I don't care what industry you're looking to get in. It's a million of you. So you have to stick out some way, shape, or form, especially as a new business. So make sure that you guys look into Google Ad School or Facebook Ad School. You can go to these websites. Like you can Google Ad certification, and they'll take you to a website where you can. It's a long process, but you'll know how to do every single type of Google ad. Same thing with Facebook, same thing with Instagram, same thing with LinkedIn, same thing with all these different websites. So, and the thing is these shits is free. And learning how to geo-target and learning how to hit specific audiences and finding people who are looking up specific words that are typing in specific words, like people think Facebook is a feds, which they probably are, but I mean, we all part of it. So at the end of the day, make the most of it if you are a business. If you don't want to be seen, don't worry about it. But if you're trying to start a business, if you're trying to get your business off the ground, learn how to do this stuff because it will put you in a position like Payroll that separated him from really all the other dog breeders. Because I don't see no other dog breeders doing this shit. Like they're posting
Right.
organically,
Right.
but they're not investing into making sure that they're being seen out of that immediate market. Because
Right.
if you got 200 friends and you just posting, you
You
people
only
see it as
and
200
you gonna
people.
get mad.
Yeah,
You gonna get mad because at the end of the day, you really going for the people that see you every day. But it's never
Right.
been about that. It's been about the people that ain't seen you, that
Yeah.
ain't knew you. So you have to spend that money. And another big thing is like you got to take the chances. And when I say chances, is like you have to step out of your comfort zone.
Talk about it.
You have
talk
to,
about that.
because at the end of the day, we can all sit here and get mad and say, look, man, this person ain't supporting this person ain't doing this. But it's like, what did you do to make somebody support something? You know, what did you do that was different than anybody else?
Yeah.
You know, the thing about with this dog stuff, man, like I'm gonna tell you right now, I knew because I bought dogs that was normal. You know, and I felt like I wouldn't even be breeding dogs today if I was breeding those dogs, straight up.
Right.
Because I would have lost it. I would have been like, man, I ain't motivated. You know, once I seen it and I seen like people really getting into it, you know, people really understanding the quality, it made me understand the difference of understanding that it's really about the quality.
Yeah.
It's really about who you can reach, you know, and adding those people into the ball game, you know, and saying, look, there's so many people that have been like, man, they called me. They've been like, I've been following you for years. I got my money saved up. I'm ready. And I ain't even notice them.
Right.
I was never going through my friends list like this because I ain't never go for my friends. I went for the people that ain't know me, that ain't see nothing. They just seen Cane Corso Road in a post somewhere, you know, and they like, man, them dogs is fire. I want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of that vision, you know. And that's really what it's about, man. But it takes sacrifices. It takes, you know, kind of going to that other realm because it's easy to get stuck in the bubble with everybody else. That's the easiest thing to do, you know. And let me touch back on the marketing that you was talking about because the biggest thing with this is we ain't in the yellow pages no more.
Oh, it's over.
Hey,
It's
we
over.
don't. Hey, remember having to go find some place, bro? You had to go through the yellow pages, bro.
Yeah.
Like, take advantage of that. Take advantage of the fact that you have these social media platforms that you really don't even got to step outside your house. Like, matter of fact, I can hop on the phone while I'm here right now and talk to somebody in a whole nother state.
That's a fact.
You could not do that years ago. Take advantage of that.
Yeah, that's a fact. Yeah.
Like, if you're not taking advantage of that or trying to find them people, you losing.
Yeah, and even if you've been doing, even if like, because I know a lot of times, because I've been in marketing for about 6-7 years myself, and I know when I speak to people who are successful with the old school shit, the word of mouth, and it don't matter what the industry is, but I hear it a lot where it's like, oh, well, this has worked for a long time, and it's like you got to break that mentality.
Right.
Like, you know, you have to break that mentality because, like you said, the yellow pages is over, and believe it or not, people still pay for yellow pages.
Right.
Like there's people who still pay for that shit. You know
I remember putting money into the newspaper and I didn't get one call. Hey, I put money in the LA newspaper. I didn't get one call.
Niggas use the newspaper to get the coupons. Like
right.
Like if you buying the paper, I remember the last time I bought the paper, it was for coupons. Like it was because I knew that I could get a bunch of coupons in the savings I get at the grocery store. I wouldn't read none of the news articles. Everybody, yeah, you got to just think about what do you do on a regular basis. You're on the phone. Like people are on the phone. They're on the phone more than ever. Invest in that type of stuff, man. Like it's not really that hard, but a lot of people just fear, and it's a couple things that they fear. Most times they fear failure. Like,
that's what it is. The most importantly, they feel failing. But in order to, you know, I came up with this line years ago, and I was like, bro, if you're not taking these chances, you're gonna automatically lose.
Yeah,
you know. You can't be fearing failure for nothing because you gonna learn from that. And if you don't learn from it, it ain't for you. Yeah. You know, it could bury you and say, look, I failed, but I'm gonna tell you, like, I done failed a million times. But that made me who I am today.
Yeah, you got to.
You know, it gave me the confidence of what I'm gonna do on my next play. You know, because I'm if it failed, it failed. I'm gonna think of a different way to come at it. Yeah. But I know it's there because the vision is there.
Yeah, I think it's a benefit in coming from not necessarily nothing, but being able to say that you have been in a situation where you never had shit. And
Right,
if you've had that, then you really fear failure so much less. Like if there's no fear of being in a position that you've been at before. You know,
right,
really the people who fear failure the most is the people who never seen rock bottom. But the problem is to get the people who are in rock bottom outside of the mentality to that's not the only way. Like there are other ways.
right,
So it's two different types of shackles. You know, two different types of fears. You know, one a fear of anything outside of anything they've ever known, and I guess the other way, but just the fear of failure. Because some
right.
people who failed their whole life, they like, well, this is what it's meant to be. Like,
Yeah, they expect to fail. You know,
yeah,
they
so
expect to lose, but I don't go into any situation expecting to lose. Like,
yeah,
I'm gonna learn.
yeah,
You know, I'm gonna
exactly.
learn
Cause that's
more than
all failure. That's
anything.
what failures are. That's
Yeah,
what failures are.
yeah,
I read this thing. I literally read this thing yesterday, where it said that well, obviously, people who know about money know that it takes traditionally about 7 streams of income to become a millionaire on average. But I also seen something that was super intriguing that one of every 9 businesses fail.
right,
So I mean, in order to get if you're doing it from a business standpoint, you might have to set up 63 businesses just for the 7 to get to the millie. And if you think about it, how many people do you know is willing to fail 63 times to hit a millie? You know what I'm saying? Like
right.
most niggas gonna quit after the second or
They
third
gonna quit
time.
easy.
Yeah, and they gonna be like, oh, well, it just wasn't meant to be. But it's like these people like Warren Buffett, these people like, you know, even Elon Musk, who I guess we could talk about him. He made $100 billion just this year.
Right.
He was at 20 last year and he had 120. You know what I'm saying?
Because it's easier. Once you make the bread, it's easier to make more bread.
Yeah.
And that's why they always
But how many
said that
times did he fail though? That's what I'm
he
saying.
failed it. But you know, at the end of the day, he never got stagnant. You know, he kept continuing to build.
Right.
He kept continuing to work at it. You know, and you got to be willing to do that.
Yeah.
There is no such thing as failure.
Yeah.
There really isn't.
There
That's
is.
not an option. You know, if you're really trying to win, failure is not an option. So you're gonna knock down them barriers, and you're gonna continue to push them levels. You know that's different than anything else.
Yeah, and you know the thing is when I seen that 1 out of 9, I think it was a Warren Buffett quote. So Warren Buffett telling you that, especially for people like me and you, we black men. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So if you want to take that 63 with Warren Buffett saying that, now you factor in a black man,
Right.
then you might be at like 80,
Or
90,
more.
or more. You might have to
More.
fall on your face 80, 90 times just to get to
Right.
that. You know what I'm saying? So
You got to trust the process, and that's one thing I could tell you. You know, before Nip passed, you know, I used to hear marathon, and I used to not. It went over my head a little bit. You know, it was like marathon, marathon. But then when I really started thinking about it, and I really started getting on too, I was like, man,
That
the
album, that
marathon.
album hits so much harder now that he passed.
But the word marathon is really life.
Yeah,
If you come at life and you just go full sprint and you lose, then you think you lost.
mm-hmm.
But if you think about it like a marathon, like, look, bro, we gonna run this up. You know, we gonna take these wins and losses, and it's all gonna add up to wins at the end of the day. It's a whole different aspect. It's a whole different way of thinking, which means that you don't have to get it all off on one rip. As long as you making progress, you win it.
Yeah,
You know, and that's really the big thing. Everybody just thinks that, you know, if it didn't go my way, I lost.
right.
That's not real.
Yeah,
You know.
and a lot of people feel like if I didn't, and this is where social media kind of skews perception for the gullible, I guess I should say, or
Right.
the easily impressed. Um, you know, a lot of times what happens is they see some of these fake lives that are being portrayed on Instagram, and then they feel like their progression isn't fast enough because it's not where that person is. But a lot of these people that's doing this, they're actually getting paid just for that look. And they
Right.
wasn't even getting that money before, but they portrayed the look and it attracted people. And you know, it's just important to know that there's gonna be years where you're gonna hit a crazy run. And when we was young, when you hit them crazy runs, you didn't really see that money because you blowing it, popping bottles in the club. At least that's the life I was living.
Right.
And I know you was similar back in them days when
Right.
20s, you popping bottles. So you'll spend 1,000 in the club, or You'll you'll buy a booth and run through bread. So you didn't really see that money, but there's gonna be years where you're gonna get really ahead of the game, and there's gonna be other years where you barely make it through, but you still up a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And I
Right.
just think it's important that you keep it the same, because what happens most times is when you had them good years, then you elevate your whole lifestyle. And that's
Yeah.
what get niggas caught up, if we being honest. You know what I'm saying? You elevate that lifestyle to where once you have a year, maybe the next year, where you go back down to how you was before, you ain't got them same bills, you don't got them same things that you was at.
Right.
The money is elevated in terms of what you got to pay out. Now you in over your head. Now your credit get messed up. Now you got to start from scratch. So
Right.
that discipline that you spoke of to get you in a position to even have them 25, 30 bands, to come off, putting you in a position where you can do what you're doing now. I
Right.
just think it's important that people understand even just that process to get to that point, because so many people wish this upon a star. They got all these dreams of doing all this different shit in life, but they ain't even disciplined to stack 10,000.
Right.
You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Like,
Right. No, that's real.
yeah, like,
That's real.
and it's just important that people know even just that point. I just think it's important. So you got into the Corso game, and then you got to the point of, all right, American Corsos maybe are not the top of the line route. How did you get to the point to where you decided, or how did you even get in the lane of start getting animals outside of the country? Like, when did that become a
You
thing for
know,
you?
it was a blessing. I'm gonna
Talk
tell you
about it.
why. I'm gonna tell you why. I had a situation where there's a dog named X-Man Brutus.
I seen it on your website.
Yeah, Brutus X-Man. He worth 600K. He's the
Jesus.
first blue dog to win a world championship. He was actually leased out in Minnesota. He was leased out for 100 grand for a year, and they tried to keep him. You know, they tried to keep him. And in the meantime, I started doing the research, and that's one of the other things that I got to tell you. You have to do your research on anything you're doing, no matter what. You got to put that research in. I remember my baby mama like, go to sleep. Like, why are you up? I'm up on the net talking to all these people in other countries, just picking their brain.
So talk to me about that process. Like, how are you doing the research? Like, what do you have to do research to make sure you're getting a quality any type of dog?
Because you got to take your chances, which means that you're going to have to buy a dog first, and you're going to have to see what the dog is. Like, no matter what, there's no really way to cut that corner, because I had to buy a dog. I had to see that this dog was cool, but then I wanted that fire. I wanted some shit that didn't nobody have. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
that's just bottom line. That's what it came down to. But there was this lady in California. I ain't gonna speak on no names, but there was a lady in California. You know what I mean? And she was breeding a dog with X-Man. I had waited. Um, I put a deposit down on the litter. I came all the way there. The dog was like 7 weeks, and I got there, and I went there probably like 5 days early because I wanted to take my kids to the beach. I was like, I'm gonna go to L.A. I'm gonna go to Santa Monica. I might as well take them to the beach. And enjoy the beach, and then bring the dog back. So I get there, and she's like, "Oh, I gotta let you know the dog's sick."
What?
I'm like, "What you mean?" She like, "Oh yeah, like 5 or 6 of them, they got sick all of a sudden." And I'm like, "Okay." So parvo's a big thing, but I hadn't really dealt with it, and I didn't know whether she was telling the truth or lying. But anyway, she's like, well, I'll let you know in like 5 days if he cool." So I stayed out there, and she told me, "Okay, well, he passed. A few of them made it though, but he passed." I didn't believe it. Make a long story short, I didn't believe none of that. And then she was basically like, "I'll give you your deposit back, or you could wait on a whole other litter." And I hopped online, and I found out where that dog came from. And I hit him up immediately.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, "Look, bruh, what you got over there? This fell through. What you got?"
Right.
And it was almost like damn near a similar price. It was probably because the shipping was so much more. It was the same price for the dog, but the shipping was a couple grand. And I hit him up immediately, and I was like, "Look, bro, send me this dog." He sent that dog, and when that dog touched down, I knew the difference. I knew that everybody else had the bullshit. They didn't have a fire. You know,
What could you tell about the dog that made it?
man, everything from the head, the body, the structure, just the character of the dog.
Mm.
You know, dog breeding is an art.
Mm-hmm.
You know, anybody could, like I said, anybody could tie two dogs together and say, look, we didn't came out with this litter, you know. But when you really have those specimens, you know, them dogs that you like, look, man, I got dogs at the house I wouldn't sell for $50K right now.
Mm.
Easy. Several of them. I'm not gonna let them go because they are the base of what I'm doing, you know. But it took me to really understand that. When I first got into it, I was so quick, meaning that I didn't even want to ask, because I was paying for it anyway, so I wasn't gonna ask my partner at the time, like, look, you know, am I gonna go get this dog? Because you're gonna try to talk me out of it. My baby mom was like, nah, you're gonna try to talk me out of it. I don't want you to talk me out of it. I'm just gonna go do it. So I leave. I went to Cali to pick up another dog, you know, and I came back with it, and I was like, there's another dog. I hit up New Jersey, got another one. You know what I mean? And those dogs was really hella regular to what I'm doing today, you know. And those people that I bought them dogs from, you know, they want to spend with me. They all want my blood,
Right.
you know, because I started building relationships with a lot of people in a lot of other countries. You know, Chile, Santiago. You know, I got 3 more coming from there, but that's one of my favorite people. Shout out to Julio. Even Barcelona, Spain. You know, Argentina. You know, I just got several dogs from Romania. I'm bringing in pregnant females. It's a whole different ball game compared to just wanting to breed a dog. But you got to be willing to take them chances, and you also got to build up them relationships in those avenues. You know, it didn't happen overnight. That shit took years.
Mm-hmm.
It took a lot of learning. It took learning how to talk to these people, you know, to know that they wasn't going to try to get over on me, you know, because at the end of the day, you're going to take a chance. And that's why I keep my prices. People be like, man, your prices are so much higher than the next. But I'm like, the quality's different. But, you know, if you don't want to pay me, why don't you go take that chance there? Or go have a raggedy ass dog,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Because at the end of the day, anybody can have a dog, but all dogs ain't the same. Just because it's purebred don't mean it's well bred.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, it's different levels to this breeding game, but it takes that to understand that. You know, it takes going through it. You know, and I could cut off a lot of that if you listen. You know, but at the end of the day, you know, people will listen, but a lot of people will listen. You know, a lot of people will jump, say, look, I want that quality from day one. But then you got the people like, man, I got this budget of this, and I'm like, bro, just save up. Save up, bro. If you got 3 and you need 7, save up. You know, but it takes that. People like, no, I got to stick at 3. I'm like, bro, if you're going to have this dog for 10 plus years, what's the difference of $4,000?
Right.
That ain't a big difference. If you base it off for 10 years.
Yeah, you get what you pay for.
And really, you know, let's say that you buy a dog for $3K, bro, and you got to go to the vet every day. Bro, them vets be waxing. That's how they make a living.
Right.
So they'll run up $7K in vet bills on you.
Well, yeah.
Well, you could have just got a high quality dog from the beginning.
That was a question I wanted to ask you. So obviously you paying more for the quality dog.
Right.
I mean, this shit ain't all profit. There are expenses that come with this. So
absolutely,
just so people are aware, because, you know, I don't want to just speak to all the glory. I mean, there's obviously some trials and tribulations with each individual, you know, litter, I'm assuming.
Right.
Like what are those charges are like? Like, not, I mean, you don't have to get all specific, but like, what are some of the things that people just don't know about in terms of expenses when it comes to this type of hustle?
So when people think about dogs, they just like, man, you making this off of this dog, but they not understanding what them chances I had to take to get there.
Right.
You know, meaning that I had to buy dogs that had problems. You know, when you go to the vet, it was a 3K dog, and she could have had a hip problem. You ain't gonna be able to breed her, because if you breed her, guess what? All them puppies gonna have hip problems, and your name gonna be bad.
So just because that's a hereditary thing?
Yeah, I mean, with any large breed dog, you know, it can happen.
Okay.
You know, so it's about hip testing, really taking it there. When you get these dogs, you're not just breeding them. You gonna go through the test to make sure, because you're gonna guarantee. Like, I give a 2-year guarantee on hips. I give a 2-year guarantee on any big defect, you know, that dog can have. If it has a problem, I got a whole nother puppy for you.
Okay.
You know, like it's rules to it, but in order to give a real guarantee like that, you got to make sure you have that fire. you know, because if you don't, shit, you're gonna be out of business because they're gonna be coming back like, where my other puppy at?
Right.
You know, and at the end of the day, there's trials and tribulations when it comes to learning, you know, and putting the money into it. But these vets, bro, they go crazy off of people that just don't know. They don't know the difference. You know, like with Cane Corsos, you got the problem with eyes, like cherry eye. You know, none of my dogs ever had cherry eye because all my dogs is import. But
So explain cherry eye.
cherry eye is like the third eyelid popping out. It's super ugly. It's not. It doesn't really bother the dog, but it's a problem that dogs have, especially in that breed. Meaning that it's a big red, you know, dot in the middle of their eye, like big thing, like it looks like it hurts, but it don't really hurt. But you go to the vet, they gonna tell you, look, we can massage it back in for 500, and they want you to come back, you know. And then you go back, and they're like, well, we don't want to cut it out, but what we could do is we could stitch it right here, you know, and they're gonna charge you another 7 for that, and then it's gonna come back out, you know, and then you go back again. They're gonna be like, oh, we can cut it out this time for 2,000, you know.
God
So
damn.
they know that people don't know no better, and you know that's really the strength of bad breeding. You know, I had somebody tell me like it runs in the breed, but it really don't necessarily run in the breed. It run in your program
Okay.
because you bred dogs that had cherry eye. You know, if I ever had a dog that had cherry eye, I'm not gonna breed it because, you know, there's a huge chance that the puppies is gonna have it. And I don't want nobody coming back to me like, man, I had to go to the vet and do this and this because that's big. Now
Right.
I get people that's buying 2 or 3 dogs a year.
Right.
You know,
So, I mean, obviously, you kind of spoke briefly on the whole breeding process because it do take two to tango.
right?
Um, when you do your breeding, do you normally do your breeding with the pups that you are like your dogs, or what's the process of reaching out to somebody who has an equally pure blood, dog?
I've never done that.
Okay, so so it's
So I
just
breed all my dogs. All my dogs I bought on my own from another country.
got you
I never once
because
looked
that's a
for
thing.
somebody because they didn't have to fire to me. They didn't
That's a
have what I
thing
was
though,
looking
right?
for.
They do that out here, right? Where they like find other people.
Yeah, absolutely. Like people can call me all
Okay, I
day
ain't tripping.
because they know that I got a top stud. They know that, okay, well, you got Simba, for example. He's son of Brutus X Man. He pops off all colors. They know that he's fire. You know,
Right.
I didn't have that opportunity because there wasn't nobody doing what I was doing. Like, wasn't nobody going out there grabbing those big studs from them where I could say I have access to that. I had to go to them other countries.
Mm,
You feel me?
got you.
And then when I went to them other countries, and you know, obviously, if you know, I sent Seaman to Washington D.C. the other day. You know, I had probably like 3 or 4 people in Arizona over the last month and a half that got studs. You know, and those are just people that understand the basis of quality and them wanting to breed. You know,
Okay. 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 So basically, because your dogs are just that exquisite,
fire.
there's just nobody out here that's even worth even doing that. It don't make no sense for you at this point.
Yeah, not at all, not at all. Cause I'm gonna go buy it. You know,
Okay.
I tell people all the time, like if there was a dog that I wanted, I go get it. Like I'm gonna go buy it because I want it in my program. You
Right.
know, I wanted to add to my line. I wanted to add to this and this. I'm not going. You know, you can do studs and all that shit all day. That shit works great. But if they gotta have that fire, you know, and it really depends on your price point. You know, I always say another big thing is too. You can sell dogs for 1,500. You can sell dogs for 2,500. Hell, you can sell dogs for 40,000 out that litter. But I'm gonna tell you one thing is you gonna work the same, meaning that you literally are gonna have to do the same thing to whelp that litter. She gotta have puppies. You gotta take care of the puppies for 8 weeks. So why not put yourself in position to have the best quality from day one?
Right.
Why make yourself work harder? And that's really what separates me from all these other people. Because the other people are gonna be cheap about it. They're gonna be like, man, you know, that's a lot of money. I don't look at it like that. You know, I bought a dog for 20K 3 times this year, you know? And I look at it like that's 4 puppies minimum.
Right.
Like that's 4 puppies. I'm
Everything
not
past that house money.
yeah, like that's 4 puppies for me. I'm not even gonna trip.
Right.
You know, but other people gonna look at like, man, that's a lot of money, man. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of bread. But you really can't look at it like that if you're really doing this. I ain't worked since 2017, and even back then it was it was rocky. You know what I mean? I had already
Right.
started investing into the dogs and everything else, but these dogs do everything. I done bought a $300,000 house this year off of dogs.
Right.
There's a lot of things that I'm doing off of just dogs.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you because you said like when you got that many Corsos and now you adding Frenchies to the list, you obviously not staying in some gated community. Like
Nah,
you got to be out the way. So like I know you invested into a few acres. We ain't got to get all specific in the where, but like are you trying to like you have two different cities where you have multiple acres? Are you trying to make just dog ranches out of each one of them?
nah, man. I'm not really trying to do it super, super heavy because these dogs need attention.
Right.
They need a lot.
Okay.
But really, what ended up happening is I was in Goodyear. I was in Gilbert, for example. You know what I mean? And I had probably 6, 7 dogs. And I remember one time going to the house, and that was probably back in 2017. I went to the house and I had the police there, and they was like, "Your dog's just barking." Now, keep in mind, I had just went to Fry's right around the corner. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? I was just trying to go get something from the grocery store, but the dog's barking, the neighbors was having complaints, and you try to talk to somebody that you renting from or something, they not understanding that these dogs is a whole vision or idea that these this female gonna pop off puppies that could be literally 40, 50,000. You
Right.
know, um, and it came to a point where I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get land up north. So I went up north for a year. Where the land is a lot cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
And bought an area up there with a house up there. Kind of bubbled a little bit, and I really just had my mind set on coming back down to the valley, but I had to be able to afford it.
Right.
I had to be able to cash out. And they don't got a lot of places with a lot of acres too. Like everything split up. You got all these parcels that might have been 20 acres, but somebody didn't bought it and they didn't split it to one. You know
Right.
what I mean? They didn't split it to 21s.
Mm-hmm.
So they could resell it.
Yeah.
And
Makes
that's
sense.
really how the game go. Especially in Phoenix, like you don't have these parcels that are 20 acres or 30 acres or 40 acres. You had a 1 acre parcels,
Right. Right.
and I mean 1 acre is great, but for me, I was like, man, I want to do protection. And then when the NFL and the NBA got behind me, it was different, because I had people hit me like they just like, I remember growing up in Cleveland, you know what I mean? And it was either you gonna work at the post office or you gonna ball, you know what I mean? Or you gonna do music.
Right.
Them is really our only options. But I also remember people with tires and pit bulls walking down the street. So I always knew there was a love for dogs, out throughout the community. And these sports players, they love dogs just like us.
Right.
I had multiple people get behind me and say, "Look, I just believe in what you're doing. I just want to be a part of it. I'm supporting you. Look, boom, let me get this dog. You know, um,
So flex on them real quick. What's some of the names of the famous people who done bought dogs from you?
I mean, shit, I didn't have several people in the last year, especially, but DJ Hunt, shout out to Hump. Hump is one of my big dudes, the left tackle for the Cardinals, man. He's one of my main supporters, bro. You know what
Okay.
I mean? One of the people that really believed in this, a year ago. You know what I
Fire.
mean? A year and a half ago. And he was just like, look, bro, like this shit fire. You know what I mean? This dog fire. And it was crazy because, I looked at my phone and I had an email, I had a missed IG message and a missed phone call. And I'm like, I watch the NFL draft all the time. You know what I mean? So I'm like, this is DJ Hump. He a first round draft pick. He just hit my line. He
Mm.
the left tackle of the Cardinals. So, I hit him up, chopped it up, and it was just like he normal as hell.
Right.
Normal as hell. I was up north earlier, probably in like I want to say March. I remember getting a call from Xavier Howard
Mm.
of the Dolphins. He lead the NFL in interceptions right now. He real thorough dude, bro. But we talk about dogs. We chopping it up about the different levels of dogs, and he had happened to be in Frenchies before. A lot of them had Frenchies before too.
Mm-hmm.
But they wanted Corsos. For one, because you also got to think that a lot of people that got to go places, they want to have a protection dog or
Right.
several of them. You
Right.
know what I mean? So them is really two of the main people that really got behind it. There's also a lot of people, a lot of players in between that. Dude for the Blazers, dude for the New Orleans Raiders. It's a lot of people. Yeah, I remember, I remember old boy for the Raiders sent his girl to holler at me, and he was like, and she was like, she went on one of my posts. She was like, man, I emailed you. I didn't get in contact with you. I called you. You missed my call. And I was like, look, I hit her immediately, and I met up with him the same day to get a dog. You know what I mean? It was just great timing because I had something available. But they believed in it, you know? And it's real crazy because you have all these people, and I start to think like, damn, I thought about this like back in 14. Like I was like, man, these dogs is hard. They different. Everybody that's in the German Shepherds, everybody that's in the Rottweilers, everybody that's in any of these big dogs, when they either lose them dogs from them passing over age or anything happen, they want to go to Corsos because it's the best breed in the world.
Mm.
You know.
Nice. So I mean, it seemed like you not only have been but are currently very successful off the Corsos. What made you get into the Frenchie game?
I wanted to get into the Frenchies before the Corsos, to be honest with you.
Right.
The only reason I didn't is because of the work behind it. Because you can't breed naturally. Like I said, you can't do the AI. You got to do the AIs, the C sections. They don't just have puppies on their own.
That's crazy.
And then the litters are smaller, which means that you can have a litter of 4, you can have a litter of 5. But the Corsos is gonna give you 10 to 15.
Mm.
They're gonna have bigger litters because they're bigger bodies. So I didn't really think about it from the aspect of me being. I can't sell a Corso for 20 grand.
You cannot.
Cannot.
Why not?
Unless it's trained, grown, you didn't put in the work.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? They gonna max out at probably 10K for a pup.
Which is still very fire.
Right.
Especially if you're getting 15 of them Jones.
Right. But the best out of them litters is gonna go for 7,500, 10K if you really doing it. You know what I mean? So I had to kind of put it in perspective, and I said, do you want to work harder or do you want to work smarter? Even if she give you 40, let's say she give you 4 pups, but they 40 grand a piece. What is that?
Frenchies be costing up to 40 bands.
Yeah. Off
That
top,
shit
I
crazy.
bought a Frenchie. When I paid for her, she was 10. I wouldn't sell her for at least less than probably 20 right now because she already on the ground. She healthy. She beautiful. The chances you gonna take. But I bought a boy. I got a boy, lover boy. He the truth too, man. Platinum fluffy carrier. I paid 20 bands from him out of Texas. They could breed together. You mix them together, they gonna have 40 grand puppies. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of other dogs that's out there that are collecting $100. I watched a dog go for $250 today.
250,000.
$250,000.
A Frenchie?
Yes, fluffy.
Oh, okay. So there's okay. We spoke about that off the mic.
Right.
The difference between a fluffy.
So the fluffy's the new.
Speak on that because
the fluffy's the future, which means that like her, she's a carrier, which means that
move that mic out the way because you can barely see her or move her.
Yeah, she over here. I'm trying to put her down real quick. Hold on.
I just want to make sure that the people be able to see the pup.
Yeah. So
yeah,
we there.
Yeah, we good.
Yeah. So basically, when you talking the genetics of dogs, right? There's 50-50. There's a male that's gonna carry 50% in. There's a female that's gonna carry 50% in. So if a dog is a carrier or something, whether it's a carrier of chocolate, it's a carrier of whatever, you know what I mean? It carries that.
Mm-hmm.
If it's full, then that means that it's full 50%. Like when it adds that 50% in, when they breed, it's going to come out. You know what I mean? So if you take a full fluffy and you mix it with a dog that don't have no fluffy, all the puppies is all going to be carriers.
Okay.
Which means that you could take a full fluffy, which is why they cost so much. They might be, 100 bands for a full fluffy, But when he pop off, every puppy that he pop off gonna be at least 10 grand, no matter what. Even if he went to a bitch that was $4,000. He didn't boosted up her value.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So it's all different parts of the game that really come with the genetics of the Frenchies, which is different than the Corsos because it ain't really about colors. It ain't about fluffy. It ain't about that with the Corsos. Corsos is just quality. Head, body, bone, structure, all that in between. You know what I mean? When you get into the Frenchies, it's structure and DNA. You know, what do these dogs carry? Because these dogs is, you know, fluffies, for example, aren't popular. You don't see people with a bunch of fluffies. But I guarantee you in about 5 years, there's going to be a bunch of fluffies. Full bred fluffy dogs basically look like Frenchies but got long hair.
Okay.
You know, and them dogs is going for a lot of money.
So you diversifying your portfolio, basically.
Right. I mean, it's the art of dog breeding.
Right.
You know,
it's good to hear, man. So you got those two. Are there any other breeds that you're looking into, or are you just gonna stay with those two for
I'm
a while?
staying with them. You know, I'm not really looking to. You can go different ways with different dogs, but it's also a passion. You know, I always tell people like if you want to get into the dog game, you gotta love dogs. You gotta love the art of dog breeding. I love creating some fire.
Right.
I go into these breedings not to say that I'm just breeding a dog and I got, you know, I'm gonna sell this dog for $2,000. I go into this breeding like, damn, this is the hardest litter that's in America right now. I know for a fact. You know what I mean? And I'm working on the Frenchie game. It's gonna take some time, but the Frenchie people, bro, they killing the game. You know, there's people that's really really killing it. They out there easy. You hit them up for a puppy, man. 15 bands the lowest. 50 bands average.
That's crazy.
Now they not creating them like it ain't like a thing where you creating it so much where it's just a whole bunch of 50 bands. You know, it's a workup. You know, of just really building that up. They got
Like
the
anything else.
Isabellas too. Isabella and Fluffy's really just killing the game and the Frenchies. You know what I mean? You can have the regular colors. People don't want brindle. They don't want pied. Reason being is because those take over litters. If you got a brindle dog, the chances are a lot of those dogs in that litter gonna come out all brindle. You know, because it's so heavy in the genetics. You know, opposed to having a dog that's blue or a dog that's Farmentino. Them is colors that are harder. You know.
So are you
Dilute.
whether it's Frenchie? I mean, I guess I want to make sure you kind of make sure you tell the people. So no matter what dogs that you do invest in, do you just think it's always in your best interest to make sure that you purchase both both genders so you can always do the breeding? Like, is that something that you
Not at
recommend?
all. I mean, I always recommend that you go with female. You know, that's the best part about it too, because you can either do one or two things. You can buy a female, and then you hold all the resources for that female,
Right.
meaning that she's the one that's gonna pop off puppies.
Right.
You can always go spend the 5K to 10K on that stud, which means that you know you're gonna spend another 5 or give up a puppy. You know, depending on what it outweigh. You know, some people might say, look, $3,000 for a stud fee. Then it's like, damn, I'm not gonna sell no puppy for $3,000, so I might as well pay that $3,000. You know what I mean? But for the most part, you know, when you're dealing with those nice studs, they're gonna be 5K and up. You know, and that's just what it is. So it's always easier not to take care of a male, not to have the bill of a male, and have a female. You know, you can have 10 females, no males, and still pop off.
So females, that's the name of the game.
Off top, yeah, because they the ones that make the puppies.
Right. Well, yeah, that makes
You
sense.
can't have no program without no females.
Do you keep? But you got studs though, right?
Yeah, several.
But you already at the point where you bigger now. How many dogs do you like outside of the batch that you just had last night? And congratulations. Like how many dogs besides that do you have like in your possession right now?
See, that's another big thing too. Is like these dogs require so much. So what I've done is I've done the co-own.
Okay.
You know, which means that instead of me having to take care of this dog, I'm gonna put it in position at your house, for example. You know, you might want a pet, you know, a dog to take care of, and we're gonna breed her when she's ready. But we're gonna split it and she's gonna stay at your house.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So that gives me the benefit. I got several co-owns. I got co-owns in California. I really only do the immediate places: California, Texas, Arizona, you know, New Mexico, maybe Utah. You know, holla at me if you hear this because I'm open for business.
For sure.
You know,
for sure.
on the co-own, and that just means that you know I would go half with you on that dog. You know, but we gonna split the litters in between that. You know, between me and you, it's always easier and more cash beneficial for you to just buy the dog outright. But then you also learn the game. You're dealing with somebody that, I mean, there's so much money you can waste just learning.
Right.
Because all this don't come from not being in the game. This come from years of experience. So you also get that up under your belt as well.
Most lessons ain't free. I mean,
Right.
ain't too many colleges that's giving free tuition. So it's the same across the board. You got to spend money at some point in time.
Right.
Cool, man. Damn, you just gave a lot of information. Once
Yeah, it's a
again,
lot, man. It's a lot to take in. I mean, off top.
well, hopefully the people that are listening to this were paying attention, because that was a lot of information to retain, man. But I'm grateful for it. I know he been wanting me to invest for a while, and I think that is some, obviously we talked about it, something that we definitely gonna get into. But it's just, I think it's important that people know, and I feel like the biggest thing, and the biggest, most important thing I want people to stick with is how he actually got to the point of actually investing into it. Because quite honestly, it don't matter what the business is. I mean, obviously you want to have a business that's sound, that makes sense, that you can actually see a for sure return out of it. But that's one thing, but I think it's important that people understand that these things ain't about to just happen overnight.
Yeah, I mean that's the most important thing.
Yeah, that is the most important thing. And I think for some people, I think, like we said, most people can't see beyond what's in front of them. So for those people, because that applies to, I would say, 90% of the world, people who just can't see past what's in front of them, get a vision board, man. Like, get some type of whiteboard. If things just seem out of grasp for you, get a whiteboard, write your goal, break down what your month goal is, what your 3 month goal is, what your 6 month goal is, what your year goal is. And I promise you, if you do that, stacking up 25 stacks or 30 stacks or even 10 stacks in a year, it won't become so far fetched, because some people can't even envision holding 10,000.
Right,
You know what
right,
I'm saying? And you have to, if you've never been there, you got to give yourself these realistic goals as to how you're going to get there. Because a lot of people be like, yeah, I'm going to get to 20 and then I'm going to invest in this. But people be like, all right, well, how you going to get to the 20? Like,
right.
and if you don't get to that point, you can't really go to that next step. So I
I
think
mean
it's,
that's really the gift. That's the gift of everything, man. Is writing it down. There's a lot of times where I told myself like, the time is moving so fast. Like no matter what, everything is going so fast, and that's a benefit almost, because if you really stick to what you doing, if you stick to what your whole vision was, it's gonna come together sooner than later.
yeah.
But it's when you skirt off the vision, when you do something else that it don't add up,
Mm-hmm.
and you got to be willing to write it all down and really increase on everything that you're doing. You got to be able to see the difference.
Yeah.
You got to be able to say, look, I want 20K and by this day. If you don't make it, then set your goal a little bit lower, but make it obtainable.
Yeah.
And go from there.
And sometimes just having it on there is a reminder too. Like sometimes having that vision board or having it written down is a reminder, because once again, if you come across some bread, and I think this should happen a lot with the people who got that little 1,200 for the stimulus check. You get this bread and you look at it like free bread, which in reality is not free if you pay taxes. You know what I'm saying? Like they really
Right.
just giving you your money back. But you look at it like, oh, I got this extra little bread. And for some people that got more than 1,200, you know what I'm saying? You like, oh, I got this extra little bread. Let me go buy this Gucci belt, or let me go flex for a weekend. Let me go, do these things that I normally wouldn't even do. And for a lot of times, that vision board is most important at that moment. At that moment where you got that itch, where that money is burning in your pocket, and you like, damn, I want to go, instead of going to the grocery store to get food that's gonna last me a week, I'm gonna go to, I'm gonna go to Mr. Child's,
Right.
or even PF Change, just something that you would normally never do. You know what I'm saying? So just make sure y'all, it starts with discipline, man. Like, especially if it wasn't handed to you, if you're getting up out the mud, it starts with discipline. You're not gonna really make it past that, because even when you get that extra money, you just gonna blow it. Like if you got 100 grand in the bank, that's a great aspiration to have, but just know that can get spent on one purchase easy. You know what I'm
Easy,
saying? Yeah.
depending on what you're doing.
And you can say the same thing with 1 million. You can say the
Right.
same thing with 10 million. You can say the same thing with 20 million. It's houses out here that's selling for $100 million,
Easy.
$80 million. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? So there's no amount of money that you can accumulate within realistic approach that can't get blue immediately. So if you can't do it with 10, then you ain't gonna do it with a mill either. Like you're gonna just put
Right.
yourself over your head. So
Right.
I just thought it was important that you gave that whole start to finish. What's the plan now? Like where are you at now with it?
I mean, right
Outside of the
now,
website, because we're gonna make sure we get the public, the pub on that. But like, where are you at this point of your journey?
I mean, really, I'm trying to build other avenues. To be
Word.
honest with you, it's like
You in
the
stocks?
dog. Yeah, yeah, off
Yeah,
top.
we
Yeah,
talked about that a
yeah,
few
yeah. The
different times.
stocks,
What are you in right now? What stocks are you in right now?
several. I don't even know them off. I gotta look at my phone and be able to pull them up because I
I
be I
feel
be
you.
trading.
I
I
feel
be
you.
trading. That's what I be doing.
Day trading.
Yeah, yeah. I be
Okay.
trading. That's because I'm one of them people that's like I gotta be active. I
Yeah.
wake up in the morning, fresh early in the morning. I like to check and see what's going on.
One hundred
I
percent.
like to be up on it. I don't want to just have something sitting. That's all cool, but I grab a dog before I have some stocks sit.
I hear you.
I'm almost if I got 10 grand in stocks, I'd rather have 10 grand in a dog.
A lot of people think like that, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that if you have things of that nature that
Right.
you
If
can
you
get a
got
quick
them
comeback.
right, right,
Not everybody has that, and this what this podcast is all about, so people can learn how to get to that point.
right,
And I do agree with you. I personally don't do day trading, but for me, like I got so many other streams of income. For me, this stock shit is really just a way for me to just have some money that I can just see bubble while I'm doing other things, kind of like
right,
how you doing.
right,
Um, but I do think it's important that you diversify your portfolio because
right.
basically what you're doing now is an aggressive investment with the dogs. It ain't no different. You know what I'm saying?
That's exactly
Yeah,
what it is. It's an
it
aggressive
yeah,
investment.
it's just an aggressive investment. Stocks is a little more stable, I guess we can say, and it's not really stable now. But you did bring up a good point, day trading. For people who have thought about getting into stocks, there's a few different ways you can get into stocks. You have like the standard stocks, like the Apples, the what I'm saying, the Tesla, the stocks. Just you put money into it, you watch it grow or you watch it decline, whatever. That's what the average person does when they get into stocks or they get into ETFs, which we'll talk about another day. Now, for the people who actually have time on their hands, you have this other option, which is day trading. And we never really got into day trading much, but since he brought it up, I think it is something to speak about because the thing is about day trading is first off, it is very dangerous. It's probably the most dangerous part of investing into stocks. And the reason is if you're not like on it, and I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to people who maybe think they can do this and maybe got a job type shit.
Right,
Like you
right,
can't have a 9 to 5 job or an 8 to 5. You can't work during the stock times and be involved in day trading. Like it's just not possible. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to be, like you said, you got to be on that shit before the market open. You know what I'm
right,
saying? Like because they're giving you tips, and there's certain websites like Motley Fool, that's one of them. There's certain websites that will give you insight on what things you can invest in for that particular day. A lot of these websites cost money, but just like the dogs, it's worth it. You know what I'm saying? Because
right,
if you can get insight on a stock that for a fact is going up $5 in one day, and it's like a $3 stock, and you go get 500 stocks real quick, 1,000 stocks, you go up $3, and you get out in that same day, then bang, you made 2-3 bands in a day, and that's how day traders get their money. But it's one of those things where you have to be locked in on the
right.
screen,
Because
like it.
it'll drop as fast as it'll drop the same time as it'll
Yeah,
go up. Like
timing is
I was up
everything.
1,000 and it'd be down. You'd be down. 500 right under that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So you got to be willing to do all that.
timing is everything. And fortunately for my man Payroll, he, I'm sure he has his days where he, like I said, he's just at home because he's working. He's giving himself that freedom. So when you in that space, you have the ability to do day trading where you know that you can just keep yourself available for a certain amount of time to where you can just be on it. But if you don't have that time, just don't play stock market where you think you got it like that. You know, it's the reason why some of these people that work in Wall Street, they have a specific system that gives them insight on these type of things. You know what I'm saying? Like, and if you're not invested in those type of systems, then you probably gonna play yourself. Like, and I'm just being honest, it's the easiest way to lose money, but it is also the easiest way to make money if you're doing your daily research. If you're up before the market you have to be in front of this stuff before the market actually opens. If you late to the market opening, then you missed a day. You can't because a lot of times these things shoot up immediately in the day, and you have to be able to get rid of it pretty much immediately. You have to know when
Right.
to get rid of a stock. Like, you can't get greedy. Like, if
Right.
you see that bitch went up $3-4, you know what I'm saying, and you know that made you 2 or 3 grand, don't try to go for 4 or 5 grand. Take the two or
Take the
three grand
money,
and get the hell out.
get up
It's
out of
kind of
it.
like the
You
casino
know.
with it. Like, if you
Yeah,
up,
it's exactly what it is. Shit.
if you up, you got to get up out of here, because if you stay long enough, you will lose. Like,
Right.
it's not even in question. So, but day trading is it's a great hustle, man, and I think that's a good. You got any? You do ETFs at all?
ETS, ETS.
It's exchange traded funds. So basically, what an ETF is like, for instance, like a S&P 500, where they have like the top
Right,
500
right.
companies.
I'm trying to get into them. I'm learning. I'm new to the stocks.
Yeah.
I'm new to the stocks. I'm just kind of doing with what I was kind of taught, because I had a couple people that somebody put in a few bands and they was like,
Mm-hmm.
look,
Yeah.
they was like, look, I'm up at 90,000 right now,
Yeah.
and it put me in the game. I
Yeah.
started learning, started following some of them steps that they took. And I learned. So I'm learning the whole process.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
learning the different tax things that go along with day trading.
yeah. Yeah.
That's different compared to any other thing too. So
Yeah.
um,
I spoke about this before, but for the people who didn't see my first episode, for people who got money, if you put it in the stock market, you don't have to pay taxes on that money until after you pull it out, as long as you leave it in for a year. So if you make 100 grand and you want to put 50 in the stock market, that's 50 you don't get taxed on. And then
right,
even when you pull it out, the max that they can possibly charge you is 20%.
right,
Which is a lick, because if I'm a billionaire and I was gonna pay 30% or even 25%, and I'm
right,
a billionaire, that 5% mean the world, because I mean, that's a lot of money that's being saved, and it's one of the ways that people kill the game on the back end. So yeah, but exchange traded funds, the good thing about that is you don't have to, like, you can pick an industry. Like,
right,
if you want to say, I want to, like, because there's an ETF for pretty much every type of industry. If you wanted to invest into it kind of helps people who don't really know specific stocks but just have a passion for a certain thing. Like, if you want to invest into energy, or you know what I'm saying, or different types of industries, sports, maybe you just want to invest into like clothing companies like Nike, Adidas. They have ETFs just for that.
right,
They had, so it's just ways to where, if you don't know specific stocks, it's a slow hustle. Like, it'll never really do like how an actual stock will do, where you can like literally double up type
right,
shit, but you never really lose. Like, it would have,
right,
like, the pharmaceutical industry. Like, for me personally, I would never invest into a specific pharmaceutical stock, because I don't trust none of that shit. Like, I
right.
just don't know enough about it
Yeah,
to invest into an individual stock. But I would invest into a pharmaceutical ETF, because
right,
all these guys are striving to get this corona shit cleared up. And basically, if you got 5 or 6 companies that are all right there, like how it is kind of like right now, it make more sense to invest into the whole thing than the individual, because that individual might not be the person to break ground. You know what I'm
right,
saying? So that's just kind of an example. And for people, I wasn't really planning on talking about this, but yeah, that's kind of an example of how you can get into an ETF. And like I said, there's a million different ways, but it rarely loses, but the wins are slow, but you most times always win.
right,
And with this whole election thing going on, that part of it was affecting the stocks for a while. Trump is basically just bitching now. He ain't about to. It's not happening. I don't know why he even forcing this issue of trying to overturn this shit. Just let it go. But now we just gotta get through this corona shit.
right, right,
Yeah, yeah, and like you said, you in the industry that's fail proof. I'm doing the marketing thing, and 100 other things I'm doing. I haven't missed a beat. But you know, the biggest thing I think at this point is just making sure people staying safe because it's popping back up. It's getting bad.
Right, right.
It's getting bad. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, and it's been crazy, you know, with like you said, the election and everything else, you know,
yeah,
even with the stocks and people waiting around and seeing what's you know what's gonna go up, what's gonna go down, you know, like it's crazy, you
yeah.
know. You can get into some stuff right now that you know is gonna go up. It's just, are you willing to wait?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
That's another thing about the stock market, and that's why I understand because you know our friend T Bleeze, he pulled all his money out of the stock market. You know what I'm saying? He was booming just like I was, but it was just too slow money for him. And
Right,
I felt him because I don't put all my money into the stock market. I
right,
just put more than most people do. Like when I get a big bag, I normally take 20-30% and I'm putting it in the stocks. You know what I'm saying? But for people who ain't putting that amount to where they're seeing, like on a good day, I'm making a grand just chilling. You know what I'm
right,
saying?
right,
Like it's because I put so much more into it. But if you don't put like a huge chunk into it and it's only going up like $10 a day, 15,
right.
I feel that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're gonna
Because
be like,
you
man, I'm cool.
yeah,
Like,
you could flip that 30 times over. So I
right,
really don't knock it, but I do think that the people who are even thinking about getting in, because it seemed like the trendy thing to do right now, because people are hearing about how some of these stocks are really, you know, coming up. But if you don't really have intentions on keeping this money in the stocks for at least 2 to 3 years, invest in something else, yo. Like, and I ain't talking to you, I'm just saying in general. Like, you know what I'm
right,
saying?
right,
Like, invest into something else because, like you said, there's so many other ways to where you can really get to it. But what happens is when you got a bunch of people that's putting money in, and then the scary people or the people who are really uneasy about it, they just following a trend are constantly pulling out. That's what fucks the market up. You know what I'm saying?
right,
Like this in and out shit where people playing hopscotch with stocks. Either leave it in or just invest in something else. And it's okay to invest in something else. That's why we bring people like you here. So you can talk to people about if you got
right,
5, 10, $20,000 and you want to, you know what I'm saying? If you got a passion for animals and you want to, you know, profit off of them, you can invest in shit like this. You know what I'm saying? Like
right,
it doesn't have to just be stocks, but if you're gonna do it, leave the shit in there because you the reason why the stocks keep going down. Like
right.
it's the fear of the average person who's scared to lose money. You don't lose money until you sell the stock. So if it goes down, that doesn't mean you lost money. That means that the stock is down for the day. And at the end of the day, you don't lose money until you sell the stock. But yeah, I wasn't expecting to talk about that, but you brought up good points.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's some long. It's a lot to go in with the stocks and the trading, but you know, even to touch back on that, you know, I'm looking for some other opportunities. You know, restaurants is something I want to do, but it's
Oh,
not the best time.
no, hell no.
You
You
know,
no, I do want to ask you about something else though, because you but off mic you spoke about the fact that you were actually getting into the CBD industry for dogs, and I
right,
think that's super
right,
intriguing because my second episode was a brother, my brother Al, who actually has a CBD store in Mesa Gilbert over in that area. So talk to me about that, like what, like because that
yeah.
is something that could actually be damn near bigger than the dogs. So talk about
Yeah, I
that.
mean, realistically, it can. And I had a couple people reach out to me just on the dog game, and they was, you know, like, man, let's get into the CBD.
Hmm.
And I'm like, I don't know enough about it, you know. So now I'm at the research point. We at the building point. We trying to build a brand on it. I'll probably end up releasing it within the next 3 months or so, hopefully.
Okay.
But we doing the pet soap, you know, for the baths. We doing the dog treats. There's several things that we working on, you know, that's gonna be beneficial to pet owners.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but with some of this CBD stuff, because obviously CBD is a natural healer,
Right.
this seems like it could be something that could save the homeowner a lot of money from
Right.
dealing with vets, just because you're dealing with an animal that might be in a little bit better shape, just because of this natural CBD stuff. Would that be correct to
Yeah,
say?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of benefits. It's the same benefits damn near with humans. You know, it's the
Right.
same benefit. Like I'm working on a raw company right now.
Okay.
You know, where you can go buy a bag of dog food, but you can also, you know, get raw shipped directly to you. You know, and it's the same thing. It's like us going into the store. You know, you go into the grocery store, you go grab a canned food or some box food or some box something. I mean, it's going to be a lot healthier for you to go get those fresh vegetables. fresh, different things in the grocery store. And that's gonna keep you out of the hospital, just like it's
Hell
gonna
yeah.
keep dogs out the vet.
Hell yeah. And that's just, I mean, anybody who's ever owned a dog know that, like you said, it ain't cheap. So I mean,
Right.
it's healthy and it can save you money in the long run. I think that's super dope. I think you should link up with my guy Al, man, because I don't know if you heard that interview, but he's got the plug on like the farmers, like he doing it from the mud in terms of how he
Yeah, no,
creating
I
this.
was actually listening to that. I
Yeah.
was listening to that a
Hey,
little earlier.
Al, if you I know you his son actually starting shooting guard for Arizona Wildcats, Dalen Terry. Shout out to Dalen. I know I slaughtered your name the first time, man, but salute to you. I know he's first time freshman starting shooting guard for Arizona, man. That's really big things. But Al, if you hear me, I know you in Tucson now, but if you hear this later on this week, touch base, man, because I want to link you up with him. I think y'all could make some really, really big moves. But yeah, man, I think that's it, man. First off, I mean, first and foremost, I really do want to thank you for coming, man.
Yeah,
You dropped a lot of gems. You know what I'm saying? Like
I'm honored.
I think that this is something that's going, even if it inspires one person to actually get on it and actually do it the way that it's
Right,
supposed to be done, then I feel
right.
like we did our job.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about and one of the things I love about what you're doing is you presenting the options to people because it's the same thing I was talking to with my people the other day, and I'm like, man, we went to school and they wasn't teaching us about credit.
No,
Especially as black folks, it wasn't like you was gonna come in the game and have everybody with great credit just teach you with credit or get it handed to you. There's a lot of things you got to learn. There's a lot of different things that you can learn, the different things that you could do, but you got to think outside the box. You can't make no excuses.
right,
It's easy to make an excuse and say, well, look, this ain't working because it ain't work for this person. But when you think outside the box and you really start putting it together, you can come up with something. Whether you're doing dogs, like even dogs, like I got a passion for dogs. My kids got a passion for lizards. Like I told them, look, I don't like lizards at all. I don't like reptiles. I just don't like them.
right.
They went around the house, bro. They came back with like 20 little lizards. And I was like, you know what? I respect that. I'm gonna go buy y'all some. So I want to spend $5,000 on lizards. You spend $5,000 on lizards, they was like $1,500 a piece. They have 2,500. They have 25 babies at a time. Excuse me. They have 25 babies at a time.
Mm,
So 25 times 1,000, 25 bands. They learning entrepreneuring at a very young age.
getting to it.
Now they going collecting lizards, talking about, Dad, can you post this? Because I wanna sell this lizard. This
Fire.
lizard $60. I want to get that. Like I just got them, but can we sell them? You know what I mean? Just so I can go get some more. And that's really what it's about. That's getting them thinking.
Hell
At
yeah.
a young age.
Each one teach one.
Right. So that I mean, you just can't make no excuses. It don't matter what you're doing. Think outside the box. Get off your ass.
Yeah.
Get off your ass and get
Starts
to
with
it.
that. It starts with that. Well, hey, man, give them the link to the website. We'll have the website link on all our YouTube videos and whatnot, as well as on the titles for all those online platforms. But just let them know where they can go to
Yeah.
tap in with
So
your
so
plug.
so so CaneCorsoWorld.net. That's the hook right now. I'm working on the Frenchies for Life, FrenchiesForLife.com. That's gonna be up and going probably within the next week or so. But CaneCorsoWorld.net. I'll say Cane Corso World because it's easier for people to remember.
Yeah.
Everywhere I go, I'm giving my email out because it's linked to my business email and people typing it in wrong. So I'm like, let me say Cane because it's really pronounced Connie.
Connie.
Cane Corso.
Cool. All right, man. Well, damn, this was super, super enlightening, man. Once again, I appreciate you coming out. Once again, CaneCorso.com. Cane
Dot net.
Corso.
CaneCorsoWorld.net.
CaneCorsoWorld.net. Damn, who got the com?
They didn't. Bro, they already was on it. They was on it.
They was on it.
Nobody had it, but they was trying to charge me like 2 bands for it
That's the hustle.
immediately, just because the name.
Yeah, that's
just
the
because
hustle.
it's one of them key names.
Yeah.
And then when you building them websites, you gotta already have them key names that's search engine ready.
Mm-hmm.
So I put the net and it all came together.
If you actually follow me on Twitter, I actually spoke to y'all about how the hustle of actually flipping domain names, and that's exactly what we talking about right there. So, but I'll save that for another episode because I know a lot of people on Twitter ask me like how they go about that process, because I erased the post, because it's like the game is to be sold. Like, you're
Right.
gonna have to listen to the podcast at least. But we'll talk about that next episode. So once again, my man Payroll, man, I do appreciate you, man, giving this game, man. But yeah, this is it, man. First, also want to make sure, because I ain't even do that yet. Shout out to Icon Radio, man. They constantly showing the love, respect the underground justice, man. I appreciate y'all. If you are an artist and you want to get known, you want to get your name up, you want to be on the largest internet radio station in at least this part of the country, tap in. We got some discounts that I can get you on there to make sure that you're on constant rotation. It's about 10,000 people that use that website. Great opportunity to be seen. So once again, I do want to shout out Icon Radio. Want to shout out to Payroll again. Hey, if you don't know now, you know.